Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be chatting with Delilah Bon, but before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. Welcome, Lauren Tate, aka Delilah Bon, to the Pelt Music Podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you on this evening. How are you doing?
Hello, Paul. I'm good. Yeah, I've got too many names now because technically I'm Gretel as well. Three people.
Yes, exactly. We're going to target Delilah for this one, and we're going to focus in obviously on the work that you're doing under that name, which is obviously getting a lot of attention, rightfully so, right now, because obviously absolutely fantastic the output that you've had so far. I really, really enjoyed it, and we're going to start off with 2000 Trees because we were at 2000 Trees. Really, really loved the festival. And your set. So we just wanted to see how it was for you. You know, what were your thoughts on obviously playing the forest stage, which is a beautiful setting in itself.
Yeah, it was a beautiful stage. I'm glad I was in the forest because that's where I'm free. And it was good because we got Hella. So Hella's my dancer, and that was her first gig dancing. So we had loads of new moves to add in, and I loved it. There were loads of people came to see me, and before I went on stage, the woman came over and she just said, "Oh, by the way, there's amber warning on the weather, so we could cut your set. You might get pulled." So the entire time I was thinking, "Don't pull, don't pull, don't pull!" My God, because it was so good. And like, I think I forgot what we did Glastonbury before then, and it was better than Glastonbury. It was before. Yes, it was before. I enjoyed it more than Glastonbury, so it was really, really good.
Yeah, definitely a big compliment. Yeah, the weather on the last day, which Trees always confuses me because obviously the last day is a Saturday, and I kind of want to call it a Sunday, but it's not. But yeah, the weather on that last day was atrocious, but thankfully it wasn't too bad for your set compared to what it had been. So obviously
I was praying.
yeah,
no, don't do it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not the easiest festival really to get to either, is it? If you're going to make your way all the way there and then have it cancelled at the last minute, wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
But obviously you touched on Glastonbury, and that's kind of the next point. Obviously you've played a number of festivals this summer: Tramlines, Bearded Fury, Glastonbury. Obviously, I would imagine will be a highlight. It's a special one for everyone. Just what was it like for you? What did it mean for you to get to play there?
I think Glastonbury is a massive festival, so everyone I know has been like, "Jesus, this is it. This is your big break. You're playing Glastonbury." And I think they underestimate the size of Glastonbury because I was on at the same time as Lewis Capaldi. So I was watching crowds kind of walking past the tent, and I was like, "No!" But then I'm like, "But they're going to Lewis Capaldi," and I think the tent was quite full. I'd say there was a few hundred people in the tent, but I think people imagined I'd be on TV. Like people in my family were like, "Oh my God, you're going to be on TV." And I'm like, not really. But the highlight was meeting Billy Bragg for me because the stage was big. There was lots of people there, but the highlight was meeting him and speaking to Billy Bragg. And he was like so sweet. And he was just complimenting me on my activism and everything I do. And so that was the highlight of Glastonbury, was meeting him.
I can fully understand that. Billy is just an icon, really, and obviously the work he does with that stage as well. Because I always think left field. Every year I look at the lineup, and it's not many years I get to go, unfortunately. But every year I look at the lineup, and I always look at the left field, and I just think, wow, that is where I would spend most of my time. The lineup that Billy's able to get and put on. And I think on your day in particular, I remember looking at the lineup a little while ago and thinking, wow, I probably would have spent the whole day there, to be fair. So
there was so much on. And as well, it was his wife that picked me. So she books for it and she picks me. And she said that she saw my video of Dead Men Don't Rape on TikTok or something like that. And she said that she thought, "I'm taking a risk putting you on this stage because we don't know what anyone's going to think." And she's like, "I believed in it." So then she said, "So ultimately I thought, I don't care what anyone thinks because I believed in it. Billy believed in it. We gave you a shot." And she loved it. And then all day, Billy said to me, like, that when I performed, his wife came out to watch, and he said that she very rarely does that. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, big compliment. And I wish I could have been there. I'm sure it was absolutely amazing. And like to touch on what we went with at the start there, obviously you've got some solo albums out. You've got Hands Off Gretel, which again is a band I've been aware of for a number of years now, and really enjoyed everything that you did with Hands Off Gretel. Obviously, in amongst the pandemic, the Delilah Bon sort of act, or less of an act, obviously, because it is a part of you as a person for sure. But the artist of Delilah Bond, I guess, sort of come to the fore. So on our other podcast, the Discover New Music podcast, we always start off with the same feature called the origin story. So this is going to be the first time I'm going to bring it into this podcast, to be fair. But I think it's really important. Obviously, the reasons why Delilah came about, and obviously the messages behind Delilah. So for those that may not be aware, are you able to give a little bit around the origins of Delilah?
The villain origin story. Yeah. Well, actually, I started out in music as a pretty sweet, naive, innocent girl, and I didn't have any interest in punk, and I had no interest in activism. I thought I'd just be like a nice little singer, and then it was just my experiences in the music industry, I think, and my experiences as a woman, just growing up and realizing things about like how I've always felt as a woman, and so it was when I was on tour with Hands Off Gretel, we did like a big UK tour, and it was like loads of dates. We would do really big tours, and it would always like take a toll on my mental health, because it was very much like my entire year was every weekend we're going to play a gig. So every weekend, that's all my life was. After leaving school, I was 17 years old up until the age of like 25. Pretty much every year I would tour with Hands of Gretel, and then I started to struggle because I was always in male environments all the time. It was like I'd look around the venues sometimes and be like, where are the women? There's not even any women here. It'd just be me and my mum. And then eventually Becky Baldwin, she joined the band. So then it was like, oh, finally I've got a woman with me. But then that's when I started to notice it even more, because when I would meet men after gigs and stuff, it was always men that were like 50, 60 years old. And I was a teenager back then. And it'd be like, they'd be kissing me, hugging me, asking for pictures. It was always like, it wasn't just the performing that I had to worry about. It was like they'd be taking photographs of me, and I wear like a dress, and they'd be upskirting me and harassing me and shouting things out at me. Like there was a guy once when we were doing sound check, and he was this big punk guy, and he came into the venue in London, and he was just like, get your fanny out. And I was like 17 years old, and I was like, what the heck is this? Why is no one react? No one sent to react. Like none of the other guys in the room ever would react. It was always seen as a joke. And I never felt comfortable. I always felt like, I don't know, I was always on the verge of arguing with everyone all the time. And then when Becky joined the band and she was playing bass, I saw it happening to her. And I saw how men, like I remember looking around once and seeing her surrounded by men that were like 50 years old. And they were picking her up, and like they would just pick her up and be holding her, and she looked uncomfortable, and I could see that happening. And then I would start speaking about it on social media, and then I would argue with people that told me that you dress the way you dress, so you're dressing in a revealing way, because I used to wear skirts or I used to wear dresses because it was super hot on stage, and that's my style as well. I enjoy wearing that. But they would say, oh, if you're going to dress like that, then what do you expect? That's the reason men are trying to kiss you, men are trying to do these things, is because of what you're doing. And then I was feeling super angry, and it felt like I was screaming into a void. Like I didn't really have much support when I started to speak about it. So I had to find my audience. I basically had to start again during lockdown. And it was kind of, I had that time during lockdown, like everybody else then, where it's like, okay, you can't play live shows, you can't do what you used to do. So it's back to the drawing board, thinking about, what do I want to do? What's my message? What do I believe in? What am I going to do to make it fun for myself? And then that's when Delilah Bon started. And I thought, I'm just going to do a side project. And I think everyone's new ideas always start out as like side project. And then the next thing you know, it's because you've taken away that kind of expectation and that like responsibility. It's like something brand new. You can do anything with it. And then all of a sudden you think, oh my God, this is so much fun. And that's what I'd been missing, is like that fun and that speaking my mind. And so with Delilah Bon, it's like, right, I'm just going to put a load of songs out there. I'm going to produce them myself, write them myself. And it's just going to be what I want to say, just authentically me. And yeah, that's the origin.
Yeah, no, and it's an origin story that obviously it's really uncomfortable as a man to listen to, because I'm ashamed, that you've had those experiences. And as much as that I would like to try and put myself in your shoes and think, well, how must it's impossible for me to do that, because obviously you've lived them experiences. And I say absolutely ashamed as a man that in life, not just the music industry, but I feel it is more focused in the music industry as well. But I will always advocate the active bystander kind of approach from a man's point of view. We've all come from the last 20 years in particular. I think there's been progress made, but there's a lot more that can be made. And just calling your friends out for their bullshit behavior. If you are with someone that is treating someone else, another human being, in that manner, call them out for it. Like, why are you actually being friends with these people? It's just absolutely, it's such a amazing thing that you're doing. And obviously I do wish that it wasn't needed, but it definitely is needed. And it's absolutely fantastic, and obviously wish you all the success with it. And I see the reaction online, and I see a lot of positives in the reaction. So how have you experienced that? What's your thoughts on the reaction? Did you expect perhaps the reaction you have got to Delilah?
Well, in the beginning I deleted a lot of comments, so I try and keep it positive. Recently, like when I first started, it was like, right, I'm just gonna delete. If anyone says anything mean, I don't need that energy. Delete. And then eventually I started to get too many comments to do that, which is a good thing, obviously. But when I first started, I think a lot of people disliked it, but then I was kind of glad, because it would be the kind of men that wouldn't understand my boundaries in the first place. So I would say the stuff I was writing about online, saying women should be treated with respect. These were the kind of men arguing with me anyway. So then when I released Delilah Bon music, they hated it. So it was like, good. I'm glad they hate it, because I've felt uncomfortable for so long. And now finally they feel uncomfortable. And it's like, I'm switching it around now. They can have a little taste.
Exactly.
But I think it was majority good reaction. And I was nervous. It's weird. I can't really remember like how it felt when I first put it out, because I was so excited by what I was doing. It was kind of like, I think because I've been doing music for 10 years, I'd got to the point where I thought, I don't really care anymore. Because with the stuff with Hands Off Gretel, when I was touring, like around that time, I thought, I just want to take time away from music. I don't even want to do it anymore. And that's where my brain was. It was like, I'd rather just not do music. I think I'd rather just have a year of nothing and just go on holiday, go for a walk in the woods, paint, just do everything but music. So then, because I then decided to do music, it was like, well, I kind of don't care what people think, because this was not supposed to happen anyway. Yeah, it was really freeing. Just true, because I've always said that. I always used to say it when I was a teenager. I'd be like, I don't care what anyone thinks, but I truly did. But then now it's like, I've been through so much with music, so many knockbacks, so many people promising me things that never came true. And then now it's like, I'm truly just doing it for myself. And it just feels like, I just feel great.
Yeah, and I'm delighted for you. I really am. I say the reaction does seem really positive overall, and obviously the project's building a lot of traction. And I would, my observation, I love obviously the lyrics with Dem and Don't Rate, where you talk about the anger towards when you say that.
Yeah.
But where's the anger towards the fact that women are being killed? Women are obviously can't just walk home by themselves without fearing for their lives, etc. And if I'm a man sat at home, getting angry at that, I have to look in the mirror and think, well, why am I getting angry at that? maybe I'm the problem then.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I absolutely love it, and can't wait to see where it goes. And the next point you kind of touched on already, which I was really keen to explore, is obviously with this project, you do write, record, produce all the music yourself. Obviously, edit your own videos, the artwork as well for the merch and for the music artwork is all on you. And I mean, the word I come up with there was freedom. There must be so much freedom in the fact that you are talented enough to be able to do all of this for a start, because I wouldn't obviously never had to start doing anything like that.
Uh-huh.
But does it also present any challenges that come along with it?
Well, in my mind, I always have to weigh up whether, because obviously I spend so much time. I never see my friends. I don't go anywhere. Like my life is on the computer chair. So when I'm in the studio, I'm in there all week. No one sees me. I forget to eat. I'm just hyper focused, which is good. It's like I can hyper focus and I can get things done. That's good. But then also I neglect my social life and I neglect I don't really eat, which is bad. Sometimes I come out the studio and I'm like, Mum, have you made any dinner? And she's like, oh, for God's sake, why? And I'm like, because I haven't eaten all day. I'm gonna faint. She's like, oh no. So that's not good. But I love what I do. And then yeah, I do all my merch design. I do everything. And I think the reason I do everything is because in the past I didn't used to do all these things. I used to give these jobs to other people and then I didn't like what they did. And I used to spend more time sending notes back to people and being like, can you tweak this? Can you change that? Can you do this? That I'd just be like, I can just draw it myself at this point. So I've taught myself how to do it and I've become a control freak. And it used to be seen as a negative thing. Everyone used to say, oh, you need to let go and let other people do it. But then with Delilah Bon, it's been like, but what can I achieve if I just truly just do it all? And I'm proving that I can just do it all.
You are. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely fantastic that you're able to do that. And yeah, there's an old saying, isn't there, that I'll probably get wrong in trying to remember it, but obviously if you find something that you truly love and can do that as a job, then obviously you never have to work a day in your life. And obviously hopefully that's what you're feeling.
Yes, well, it is, except there's another quote that I see that I forgot it as well. I'm really bad at remembering quotes, but it's like you get rid of a 9 to 5 to work. Is it like to work 24/7 or something? So like,
yeah,
want to do it to have more time because you think you want more time for yourself. But then when you do things for yourself, there's like no limits. No one's telling you to log out. No one's saying, okay, it's time to go home now. Because it's like I lay in bed and I think I could be doing something. It's the weekend, but I could just go and do music again.
yeah, that is really interesting. It's kind of the old yin and yang again. There's positives and negatives to everything, isn't there? But obviously, ultimately, it's all a positive because the Delilah Bon project, as it were, is going really, really well. And the latest release is Brat. So obviously, just to touch on that one, what can you tell us about that song and the themes behind it?
I haven't thought about that song since I released it now. Brat, what do I say? The flavor. Oh shit. All right, that one's so I wrote that song that's kind of about like gatekeepers in the industry, and I think I forgot the lyrics. Yes, it is. I'm a brat. It's kind of like me being independent. Most of my songs are about me putting the middle finger up at everybody. And that one in particular, it's like I'm a little brat that doesn't know anything. That's how people have treated me. It's as though I don't know what I want. I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know what I'm doing. And yeah, that's one of the most fun songs I've written. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've really enjoyed it, and I would encourage listeners to check that out, as well as obviously everything that's come from you so far. The debut album, obviously that sort of started it all off, and there's been some more releases since that. Obviously, I say listeners definitely need to check out. And for those that are obviously on board with the project already, they're probably wondering how progress is going with the second album. And obviously, we've already learned you're a hard grafter, so I'm imagining it's probably going quite well.
It's going well. Yes, I'm fully in album mode now. I'm dedicating because I've not got any gigs in August. So August is free. So that's going to be me in the studio. But I've got too many songs. That's the problem. I've narrowed them down 38. I originally narrowed them down to 35 and then I wrote more. I was like, no. And so my mum manages me at the minute. Well, she's always managed me all my career, but she's she does project management as a job anyway. So she manages my time and everything, and she's like, okay, you need to really think about what song's coming next, what you're doing next. And I changed my mind so much. So I'm like, yep, I've got it. I've got 12 songs ready for the album. And then she'll ask me, how's the album going? And I'm like, okay, you know those 12 songs? I've changed my mind. I don't want to do those anymore. I have 17 songs, but they're not the songs I've played you before. And because I work so fast as well, when I'm in the studio, I wrote a song the other day, and I wrote it. Usually I dream my song. So I can have a dream and then I wake up with like an idea or like a melody from a dream. Sometimes happens, which is best. And so then I go into my garage and I can finish it in 2 days. And my mum is like, sometimes I act like I don't have any songs, and she'll say, how's the progress going? And I say, oh, you can't listen yet because nothing's finished. And then it'll be 2 weeks and I'll say, okay, there's like 25.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that is definitely dedication, and I guess one of the challenges as well that we spoke about with that freedom is like, at what point do you take a step back and go, well, I do need to put an album out, and I need sort of X amount of songs for it. Which are the songs that are going to go on it? I mean, that must be really difficult for you.
Yes, that's the hardest. It's like different children, I guess, because I I think with this album as well, a lot of my songs I've released, like I Wish a Bitch Would and Dead Men Don't Rape and Brat, they've all been quite heavy and screamy. And so as I'm performing these live, it's like finding that mix between, I want angry songs, but then also I want songs that are fun and empowering and uplifting. So I've got a lot on the album that are like fun and songs that make me laugh. Like I never thought I'd have songs that make me laugh, but I have songs that make me laugh, and I think they're so mischievous and so cheeky, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see my dad's face when he listens to the lyrics. He's good. Because in my first album, there's a song where in it I sing about vibrators. What do I sing? Like, it's in Freak of the Week, and there's a part in it where I'm like singing about vibrators, and then that's the first track on the album. And when my dad listened to that song, I forgot that those lyrics were there, and then I could see him listening, and I was like, "Oh no!" So this album is like that times 10.
Oh, excellent! Well, I can't wait to hear it. It sounds really good. And obviously, you touched on something that always piques my interest. Again, over on our other podcast, we have a section called Setlist Science, because I'm a massive geek when it comes to set lists, and I love to like see what bands are playing and all this kind of stuff. And the main question that leads that, I will ask you now because it seems like you've definitely given it some thought already. But how much attention do you pay to the structure of your set lists, and have you got any rules that you tend to follow with them?
So when we perform live, there's kind of different. I have a few different vibes that I have. So I'll have the up tempo big tracks. Obviously, we leave them till the end, but I think the beginning of the set's the hardest because it's like you want it to be up tempo. Luckily, I do have quite a lot of up tempo songs, but I keep my angry ones till near the end. But in the middle, I like something to break it up. So I've got my Ready to Kill EP, and that's all kind of horror themed. So I've got loads of props that I bring out in the middle of my live show there. But this is what I find hard about albums, because live show you can bring loads of songs from different albums, different EPs, and make a big mix. But then when I do an album, I want to do the same thing, and then it ends up so long.
Yeah, clearly 38 songs long at this rate. Yeah,
I can't have them all.
Well, obviously, for the fans that have caught you live, as I say, absolutely fantastic show that you put on. So you've touched on, you've got nothing in August. You have got a run of European dates coming up in September, I believe it was. Obviously, Ireland and France and others. Beyond that, is it going to be a case now then of waiting for that second album to come out before there's more shows, or can the fans expect perhaps anything else in the sort of near future?
There's going to be maybe 2 surprise things that I'm going to announce, but I can't say what they are yet because I got to zip. But there's some exciting things in October, November that I'm really excited about. And yeah, I'll be announcing them on my social media soon. And then as well, I want to do a Halloween track. That's something I'm working towards, which is another surprise. So yeah, there'll be things. In the meantime, I'll probably do another single as well. But as of now, like, I'm just gonna get organized.
Yeah, I think it's always good, always good to get organised. And I love that you kind of touched on my job for me, because it's, at this point in all the podcasts, I always draw listeners' attention to the social media channels, because that is obviously the best way to stay up to date with everyone these days. And it's become a tradition that I read them out, even though we'll have the links in the bio. I just am sadistic and like reading out loads of underscores normally. You've only got the one that I need to read out loud, to be fair. So for listeners, obviously on Instagram, it's Delilah Bon Official. Facebook is Delilah Bon, and Twitter, although I obviously now need to learn to call it X and not Twitter anymore. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But Delilah Bon, and that's where you got the underscore on the end of it, because we do love an underscore. So
do I? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's annoying, isn't it?
See, in a way, I always say to the guests that I have on, if they've got the same for all of the socials, I'm like, oh, you saved me time, and obviously I can really read the one out. That's great. But secretly, I'm like, oh, I do love reading out all the different ones. So it's just a fetish of mine. I don't know why. It's weird. But yeah, listeners, obviously that's the best place to start up to date with everything coming from the Delilah Bon. Again, I call it a project, a bit like your mum. I work in projects quite a lot, so I like referring to things as a project.
I call it that, I think, as well. Project. I don't know what to call it, because it's not a band. It's project. But then it sounds like a trial, though, doesn't it? Like project. It sounds like it might end.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of things get referred to as a project in the music industry. Normally, when it is a side project, as you say, it's not. But I'm a bit iffy on that word when it comes to describing music, because in a way I feel it almost belittles it as an experiment of some kind, where obviously this is anything but. So but definitely listeners, that's where you need to stay up to date. Everything coming live and on record in the future, and obviously a lot to be excited about there. So we're almost at the end. We have one final portion of this podcast, which we've brought in probably for the last 5 or 6 now, and it's been quite churning out some really interesting answers, actually. So we're calling it Magic Wand. So I'm going to give you a magic wand, and you can change one thing about the music industry, but one thing only. And that's where it gets really tough, trying to narrow it down, because there's so much that needs to be changed about the music industry, as we know. So obviously with that magic wand, what thing are you going to change?
That is so hard.
It is.
I'm going to think of loads more after I've picked something. I don't want to change. Maybe. You've really got me. Maybe I'd change. Maybe something around making it easier to get onto radio. I'd do something about that, because I think, like, especially for underground artists, they've got like BBC introducing, but I don't know. Maybe I'd do something there that would be like. There would be I'll make something on radio where it's like dedicated to just discovering new music. So we'd have an entire radio show which is just that, and it just plays. It doesn't matter like about how many followers you've got. It just gives everybody a chance to discover something around that. Something that stops radio being that repetitive like the same shite. I'd do something that's like, this station is just for independent, or this is just for this. Maybe it exists. I don't know. Probably.
Yeah. Well, we're certainly passionate about new music, and we'll always shine. And obviously, we get sent so many submissions, and like you touched on there, and there's something else some other guests recently brought up around like metrics online with streaming and everything. Just because the streaming figures or the followers online may be low doesn't mean the music's not really, really good. Obviously everyone has to start somewhere, and obviously having a platform and support is so important. So no, I do love that answer, but I say it is a difficult one, and actually
it is,
because there is just so, I mean, the problem is there's so much that needs to be fixed, and just identifying the one is difficult. But obviously fantastic.
Actually, can I pick up my wand again? I think I've changed my mind, because I've said that and now I'm thinking I wish that there was more women in like labels, like more women are at the top, because I think for artists like me especially, like if I go over to a label, so I've been speaking to labels and distribution like over the past few years, I've had meetings with them before, and it's always with men. And I mean, not that I'm against men or anything, but it's like, especially with my project and what I'm doing, I just want a woman to be at the top. And I know that the top one is the woman, and that they'll understand women artists. So my magic wand's going to put more women at the top.
Yeah, no, I certainly think that would probably make the industry a hell of a lot better if there were more women at the top, to be fair.
Yeah.
So no, that's excellent. Excellent. And I do like that. That's kind of like the when you get like one wish and you ask for three more wishes. But
Yes.
I see what you did there. And no, it's fantastic. And obviously really enjoying Delilah Bon and everything that you've done with the project again, as it were. So obviously listeners, definitely follow Delilah on social media and keep up to date with all the great stuff coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you.
It was wicked.
We always throw the last bit just back and say, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
To make art, to use your voice, to express how you feel, and just make art, even if it's shit. Just do it for you. Just put it out there into the world. Don't hold anything back, because one day you'll die.
Beautiful. I love the deeper messages. Quite often it's just buy our latest album, but no, that's fantastic. So no, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Delilah Bon. Please do make sure that you follow Delilah across all the social media to stay up to date with everything coming from her, and also of course follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.